Welcome to our kickoff of our 2020-2021 Symposium series. My name is Sonia Foltz and I serve as CEO for Adopt a Class. We are so glad you could join us and look forward to a great morning together. We planned an interactive session this morning where you will hear from guest speakers, meet team members from other corporate and civic partners, and see lessons and experiences you can do with your classroom. We invite you to, again, continue using the chat feature to introduce yourself, and there'll be further opportunities in our time together. You can use the reactions at the bottom of your screen and other features during our time. Rachel Gosney, AAC's Marketing and Communications Manager, is going to be our technical support throughout the session. Thank you, Rachel. We want to give a special thanks to Frisch's as our Fall Symposium sponsor, our speakers, and to all of you who have given your time this morning to prepare for another great year of mentoring. I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to also thank the AAC staff. What an amazing group of individuals who work so hard to positively impact the lives of so many Greater Cincinnati students. This would be a great time to try out those reaction buttons and give them a round of virtual applause and thumbs up. Thanks for making this happen today. While we certainly miss being in the same room together, we do want to give you the opportunity to connect with one another just as we would introduce ourselves if we were around tables. So we're going to do that now with you and send you out to a breakout room. Now, if you've never participated in a breakout room on a Zoom call, you're soon going to receive a prompt to join a room. It might be a good time to turn on your camera if you're able so that people can see you when you join that room. You'll click on the button and you'll be virtually transported to your small group where you take just a moment to introduce yourself, share what team you represent, school you serve, and what you're excited about this year. We'll give you a few minutes to introduce yourselves in your breakout groups, and then you'll get another prompt to leave the breakout room and rejoin the entire group for our first speaker. Let's wave everyone into their breakout rooms and we'll see you back here in just a few minutes.
So what happened? We had 50 and now we're down to 49. Do not start dropping off now, people. It's just about to get good. I'm Kate McCann. I'm the Senior Education Relationship Manager with Adopt a Class, and I am so thrilled to be able to introduce Karen Zimmer. For the past 6 years, Karen has worked as part of Beach Acres school-based program. In that capacity, she helps students and families at Euler School by connecting them with the necessary resources they need, such as housing, wellness, mental health, and personal empowerment. She has worked as a social worker for over 25 years in many different capacities, and as a parent herself, she says she has a passion for helping families in need. So, Karen, take it away.
Good morning. So this morning, I would like to start, since we all talk about like how the hustle and bustle of our lives, just with a mindful moment, just to start the day off really well. So if you guys want to just be in a comfortable position and take stare off into a slight gaze, if you want to close your eyes and take a deep breath in and exhale that, and take another deep breath in and exhale that, and just sit and think that today is going to be a good day. We're going to have positive things coming our way. And just take another deep breath in and let that out. And then just relax and sit back and enjoy your symposium. So good morning. How are you all? I'm here to talk about how we can help our kiddos through the pandemic and so many more changes. So the things that I have been facing dealing with the families and the kids is that we're trying to help the parents first. We're trying to do a self-check because the parents are having feelings as well, and how to help cope with those, and then help the children to cope with these things. Always when we're dealing with our little kiddos, we need to remain calm during these hard conversations, because they're going to start, there's a lot of things going on in the world where they're asking questions. So we need to be truthful, and we need to be mindful of their age and how we need to give them information. I've been working a lot with our families. Keeping routines is very, 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 very important, even in school, because parents are having a hard time. You know, we have the breakout sessions. Well, they have times where they have to go to a different Google Meet. So it's keeping that routine, having a space in the house, or you know, where they can go and do their schoolwork. I have a parent meeting that I run, and the one thing that's very positive that has been coming out of this year is that parents are really backing teachers. Like, I don't know how they do this, because they're being teachers. They're like, they're saints. They're like, so positive things are, they're becoming teammates. So that's a really positive thing. We also have been working, like I do Zoom meetings and Google meetings with students, and it's having fun interactively. So we have dance parties. You know, it's like we have a lot of responsibility as the adults and the parents, but just think about, like, when we were 12, like, we danced like nobody cared we were around, you know. So that's where we need to kind of be with the kiddos, is that just remember that innocence, and just have fun with it. And you can be creative interactively online. You encourage different activities, ask them, listen to what they're asking. Enjoy virtual socialization. You know, like on a Friday night, you know, say, hey, let's all just get on the house. They have house party and stuff like that now. So kind of exploring that with the kids, or just helping them to understand that sometimes we can't be connected in the same room, but we can be virtual. I think the hard questions, it's like, I will tell you something funny, is the teachers have been talking to me, and being online, it sometimes can be difficult, because we have little kiddos that can do stuff that they're not in the classrooms. They can do stuff. So like one little kiddo took his laptop into the bathroom with him, and then another, you know, like, they're just all over in their house, so they can't keep, but the teachers are laughing about it, and so they have to kind of work through that. Kids, we have parents that sit right behind, you know, the kids, like, you do your work right now. And so it's an adjustment for everyone, because parents don't know how to teach this virtually, but they're learning with their children. And I think that's the thing that we just need to ask the kids, how are you feeling about these things? Where are you with this? And be that listener, because I think when we listen, we can understand that some of the behaviors that the kids are showing is more anxiety. There's some kids that are afraid. We've talked to some kids, they're being raised by their grandmas, and they heard, like, well, you know, they say, oh, people can't get that, you know, so they're having issues with that. One parent told me that her 3-year-old now just doesn't hug anybody. He used to run up and hug people, and he doesn't hug people anymore because he's afraid he's going to get somebody sick. So seeing certain things and helping them to cope with those is a really, really challenging thing sometimes, because sometimes the little kids don't know what they're feeling as well. I always put it in perspective. Us as adults have some more coping mechanisms to understand things or to rationalize things. Little kiddos are just learning how to do that. So if we sit in what we're feeling about, like we all talk about 2020 and, you know, like, when is this going to be over? If we sit in that and we hear what we're talking about and thinking about, looking at a child, that's how we can look and say, okay, they're feeling all the same things we are, and they don't have the tools and the coping mechanisms as us as adults have. So how can we meet them and challenge them and help them to process these things and to get through this. I think, honestly, it's that we just ask the questions and we're honest with the kids. They know what's going on. Screen time, like for the news and stuff, should be limited. Beach Acres has a blog, and we have a lot of good little blogs that like one is like being a stay-at-home parent and working from home. We have one that is how do we ask the hard questions about what's going on in the world today. So that's something that you can check out. It's really good. I even refer to those as well. But I think that if we're creative and we listen, I think that we can muddle through this with our kiddos.
Does anybody have any questions for Karen as it sort of pertains to your time in the classroom? How maybe best to interact with these kiddos during a time that is a little bit more anxiety ridden for everybody involved? We know that this has certainly flipped our worlds on end, right, as adults. Anybody have any questions as to how to best interact with the kids virtually during this time?
Yeah, this is Andrew Hassett, Duke Energy. I'm curious, last year, or the prior years that we've done this, we've come into the classroom and we've sort of taken over, and the teacher sort of stepped back and just made sure that the kids behave themselves. Whereas here with the virtual, I guess, presentations, I guess is the teacher going to drive their end more? And how are we going to get the kids to participate? You have so many in the classroom. It used to be we could walk around and talk to them and break them up into groups. With having one camera, I guess, how do you see that working, where we can actually engage everybody? And because we had many volunteers that would come into the classroom with us, and when we did break them up into groups, it was really good to get the kids working on crafts. And then when it came to a presentation, we could all answer questions. Whereas now we have a log jam. We have 1 point in with one video.
So a couple of things, and I'll actually take this because Karen will be a bit new to what this looks like too. You're right, this is a little bit of a challenge, right? It definitely will look very different from you all being there in person, right? The interaction is a little bit different. However, what we are hoping right now is that the kids will be back in the classroom in person, okay? Yes, you guys will be on a laptop. Alternatively, you may be up on the smart board. And it will be you guys talking to the larger group. However, if you're on a laptop, what we are sort of thinking is that we can kind of plop that on a desk in the midst of a group of 4 or 5 kiddos and hopefully have it go that way. What we have managed to do, which will be really great, it'll be going up on the website here shortly, is we've created this virtual curriculum for you. And you can sort of stop me if I'm not completely answering your question here, but we've created this virtual curriculum that really has 0 to very few materials necessary, that is still engaging for the kids, that is still something that will be of impact and kind of still hits our asks, right? So one of the biggest things is this. Typically you would go into the classroom, you'd be in there for your 1 hour once a month, right? It's obviously highly engaging. You guys can read each other a little bit better because you are in person, it's loud, it's crazy, it's an event, right? Because we recognize that asking kids to get on a Zoom call for an hour at a time is maybe not always feasible, right? Just given everybody's attention span these days. You have the ability to be able to break that up however you'd like to do it. If you want to do, 3 20-minute sessions, 4 15-minute sessions, you clearly have, kids that are in the 3rd through 5th grade range. You can do 2 30-minute, whatever it is that you guys want to do, okay? But I will be very candid and tell you this, sort of as an organization, where we're at with this. We created all of these plans for you guys to be able to do, okay? You can use some of it, you can use none of it, you can do your own thing. Right now, and this is sort of why we had Karen come and talk today, what we are most concerned about is these kiddos' mental health, right? So if that means that you're getting on with them and you're just connecting with them and you're just talking life with them and you're saying, hey, how's it going? You know what, this really stinks for all of us. This has been really tough. How is it with you? And you really truly have that true mentoring in the sense that you really just start talking life with the kids, that's okay. Because right now it's just sort of ease is kind of the name of the game, okay? If we all sort of go into this thinking fully that this Adopt a Class program will look like what it has looked like in years past, okay, to a certain extent, we're kind of setting ourselves up for failure because it just is not going to be that way this year. And that's the kind of the sad reality of it, right? However, that doesn't mean that it has to be not engaging or not impactful or not as good, right? In some sense, I would tell you that the kids need you even more. I think Karen would agree with that now, right? Because this is such a tough time for everybody. You have these kiddos now, fortunately, who are now back in the classroom, right? And kind of getting that love and attention that they haven't had really for the past 6 months or so, right? But in some sense, I would say it's even better, and your ability to engage them and make those connections may even be a little bit higher. Does that help at all? Are you concerned mostly just about like how you're going to keep their attention?
Yeah, that and the pinch point, whereas we had many volunteers before, whereas now, regardless how many people are on the screen, we have one visual, right? So it's a pinch point. So we could have 20 volunteers, but only one person's going to talk at a time, so to speak. And then on the other end, we have 20 students and they're all looking at one screen. So it's still, it narrows your ability to be able to engage with them. But I do like the idea you said you have a curriculum put together. So you have a model that we're going to be able to use. Before we sort of, we freestyled it. We did a presentation, we did crafts, we talked to them, and yeah, we interacted with them really well. Whereas that's what I'm looking for is how do we want to do this virtually? Do you have a model? That's great that we can use that as a base and we can build off of that.
So here's what I want you to do. I want you to kind of shift your thinking about this, right? And instead of sort of approaching it like this is going to be really hard and I don't know how I'm going to make it impactful and how we're going to engage them, right? And just kind of shift your thinking. This is actually quite an easy way to engage them. And I am certainly, I mean, we could talk about this all day long, right? I'm certainly happy to talk to you and sort of walk you guys through this at a different time if you'd like, so I can kind of explain the ease of it. But you're right. You have a lot of people that want to get in there and they want to interact and engage with the kids. It is trickier, right? We're all coming at this from different locations. We're not all in the same place now. It's hard to be looking at people in little rectangles all day long, right? But we are so committed to helping this work for you all. And we are going to offer an astronomical amount of hand-holding this year, not because we don't think you all are capable to take this on and do this successfully, but because this needs to be very easy for everybody involved. And fortunately, with this virtual curriculum, I think we've all put a lot of work into this. I think that this will be really, really good for everybody. And I think it will have, everybody will be able to sort of take that collective sigh of relief. It will be much less stressful in some sense too. And we're eliminating a lot of the, you know, sort of the logistical things that maybe would have been a barrier before. So we can certainly.
Can I just say one thing after you? So I think that you have to be very kind to yourself in this. We all have to be very kind because we don't know. Teachers they're trying to engage, like sometimes the kids just log off. You know, so it's being kind and saying, okay, I'm doing the best I can to connect, because it is difficult. Like, you know, even speaking here, you know, if I say something funny, I only see one face or two faces, or, you know, nobody, you can't, that interaction is really hard. So I think just to be kind to yourself and just be there for the kids and just, you know, like listen. And that's what I'm saying, and interact with them, and yes, follow the plan, but just it's a different for all of us, and it's a learning curve for all of us. So it's just about being kind and just having that big heart and saying, okay, this is why I'm here.
So that's exactly right. So Karen brings up a really good point, right? This is new to all of us, and we can sit here as your Adopt a Class team and tell you this is going to work so wonderfully, and it's going to be amazing, and everything's going to go off without a hitch, right? There's going to be some hangups because we're all just sort of learning how to do this, right? We will all get there. Make sure also, I'll just go ahead and say this now, when you guys are scheduling those first class visits, those first virtual class visits, be sure that you invite your Adopt a Class team member so we can be on and we can really sort of ascertain how this is working and what we need to pivot or change to make it work the best that it can be. So, speaking of engaging and super fun and being able to create a really good bond and back and forth and excitement, I am so super excited to be able to introduce our next guest speaker, who is amazing and kind of who I want to be when I grow up, right? So we have Ty Allen Jackson, who is an award-winning children's book author, youth motivational speaker, and literacy advocate. He's a 3-time TEDx presenter, travels around the country inspiring children to read and educate adults about the impacts of illiteracy. Ty's books have been featured on CNN, NBC Nightly News, The Steve Harvey Show, PBS, and the Hallmark Channel. He recently appeared on Marvel's Hero Project on Disney Plus and a Good Morning America segment featuring Sidney Keys, a young man who was inspired by Ty's book, Danny Dollar Millionaire Extraordinaire, to create an innovative book club for African American boys. He's the co-founder of the Read or Else movement and the financial literacy program, Danny Dollar Academy. It is such a shame that he has no accolades, or, you know, he's really done nothing with his life, right? Anyway, we are so super excited to have him. So Ty, it's all you, buddy.
I don't feel like I need to say anything else after that. I mean, like, nice meeting you all. Take care. Good luck. Thank you, Kate. And I want to first acknowledge and thanks to Z, because without you, I wouldn't be here. So I really appreciate you, passing, what you had witnessed when I was down in Kentucky or for Danny Dollar Academy, which I'll expand on a little bit more as I talk to Kate and the entire Adopt a Class team. So, and thank you so much for having me be here. Like I'm going to talk a little bit about my path. And so, so when I say this, I want you to really understand, like a lot of people say, I'm so grateful to be here. I can't even express being able to engage with people like you, with educators like you, because I really feel like I am the progression. I am the physical manifestation of what it is that you're trying to do because of where I came from. As a children's book author, it's, and becoming a children's book author isn't something I anticipated on doing, not remotely. And so it's hard to talk about my path as a children's book author without talking about my path as a child. So, and which is why your program is so important, because it really resonates with the way that I grew up. So I grew up in the Bronx, go Yankees. I grew up in the Bronx to a single mom of 15 years old. We grew up in the projects. My brother and I, by the time my mother was 17 years old, she had 2 kids. Our father was incarcerated later on, so I grew up without a dad. We were on welfare until I was a teenager, and we lived off and on with our grandparents for quite some time. But growing up in the hood and growing up underprivileged, and at times not knowing whether or not we were going to have lights on in the house, and besides being really disenfranchised, I wouldn't trade my childhood for anything in the world. I really, and predominantly because of 2 reasons. One, my mother's love and support. My mother to this day is my best friend and a superhero to me. But the other part is what she instilled in me, and that's the importance of reading. We couldn't afford always to have the TV on, but we could always afford to get books from the library. As my mother would say, we can get books for free 99, which I thought was very funny. So, my mother would come and we'd go to the library, and she'd get as many books as she could, and she'd sit them on her bed and she would read them. And, when you're sitting on your mother's bed as a little child, it feels like a throne to you. And, my mother, with great enthusiasm, would almost act out the book. And it was such amazing theater, and really was a testament to not only the power of reading, but the love and support from my mom. I want to fast forward to about 13 years ago when my son asked me a question, and this question would change my life. And my 8-year-old son looked at me and said, "Dad, can we open up a lemonade stand?" Now remember, I'm born and raised in the Bronx. You don't do lemonade stands in the Bronx. It just kind of doesn't work that way. But I live in Western Massachusetts now, and lemonade stands are commonplace. So me and my 8-year-old son went to the corner, got a cardboard box and a tablecloth and pitcher of lemonades with the little umbrellas. And in 3 hours, he made $50 selling lemonade, which completely blew my mind because I'm thinking, we'll make $5 or $6, go get some ice cream and call it a day. $50 is a whole new conversation. So he said, "Dad, what am I going to do with all this money?" And I said in my very parental way, "I don't know," because I was more prepared for the birds and bees conversation than I was for the dollars and cents conversation. So, but my mother always taught me, when you don't know the answer to a question, you can always find that answer in a book. So I went to my local bookstore to try to find a book to teach my son about finance and entrepreneurship, because after all, he was an entrepreneur. And when I went into the Barnes & Nobles in my city of Pittsfield, Massachusetts, I noticed two things immediately. One, there was no books talking about money. And money is something that's incredibly important. And so I thought it was strange that there were no books to introduce children to the concept of money. The second thing I realized is that there were so few books with children that looked like my son on the cover. And despite having 3 children and had always read to them, I never really put together the lack of diversity within children's books, especially in contemporary books. You can find books about Rosa Parks and Muhammad Ali and Martin Luther King, but there were no Diary of a Wimpy Kid books like with children of color on the cover. And right there, I got my little light bulb moment where I thought maybe at first I could find someone to introduce children. I could find someone to write a book introducing children to the power of money. And then I thought about this quote from Gandhi, to be the change you wish to see in the world. So if anyone was to write a book about finance and entrepreneurship, it would be me. So the name Danny Dollar just popped into my head. I went home and started writing. And it took me a good year to learn how to write. I had never been to college, so that the concept of writing a book seemed very foreign to me, although I was an avid reader. And it took me a year to write the story, and I started submitting manuscripts. And I submitted 147 manuscripts to 147 agents, and I was rejected 147 times. And no one would publish my book. And so I said to myself, I got 2 options. Option number 1, I could print out this manuscript, put it in a folder, and dream about what might have been, or I could figure out how to publish it myself. So I started my own company. It's called Big Head Books. You can see why. And come on, that was funny, y'all. Come on, y'all got to liven up a little bit. Get that Starbucks going. But it took 2 years from my son saying, "Hey, Dad, can we open up a lemonade stand?" for me to have this book in my hand. And when I did, it was the most important day of my life, because it made me realize that this knucklehead kid from the Bronx, whose mom was on welfare, who had me at 15 years old, whose father was incarcerated for all of his childhood, who had never been to college, can do anything he puts his heart and soul into. So I want to just tell you real quick, like, what has happened with this one book that 147 people who rejected, 147 professionals rejected. I sold about 85,000 copies of this book. This book has become a serial story in about 20 newspapers across the country. It was featured on the Marvel Heroes Project, as well as numerous media outlets. It is the foundation to a program called Danny Dollar Academy, which is really one of the reasons why I'm here with you in the first place, impacting thousands of children and speaking to them about finance and entrepreneurship. And it also was a theatrical play. And it was gifted to Michelle Obama when she came and visited my town by my city's mayor, I like to think that this book was sitting in the White House, in the Oval Office. In fact, Miss Obama said that she would put this in the book for children when they would come and visit in the Oval Office. I'm pretty sure it's not still there with the current administration, but but I tell that story not to big myself up. I tell this story because I'm that kid that you're reaching right now. I'm that kid who was on welfare with the mom and the dad who was incarcerated and who was struggling. I was that kid. And so part of having the mentorship, having the organization of Adopt a Class, be something that really connects and resonates with children is such a powerful tool to uplifting our children. I really believe that our children, especially our disenfranchised children, there's no secret to get them to where they need to be. They need opportunity, they need resources, and they need people to believe in them. Like, the principles of being able to empower our kids to be able to become all that it is that they can and deserve to be is really contingent upon everything that we already need, and that we often provide. And so to have this mentorship of Adopt a Class and have somebody believe in them, engage with them, and believe and tell them that they can and support them, I think it's like, it really warms my heart knowing that, all this work that it is that you're putting into these children to give them a sense of hope, to give them a sense of independence, to give them a sense of self-reliance. It's incredibly important and vital. And I just want to add, as a children's book author, that the power and the importance of reading is the reason why I'm here before you. And so the fact that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Kate, that most of the students within Adopt a Class have actually gotten this book, that's a great subject and topic of discussion that you can have by talking about the book, maybe reading the chapters aloud, maybe coming back and say, let's discuss the chapter when we talk again the following week, or I'm not exactly sure how the program works, but having books kind of be a tool and the catalyst for engagement and discussion, I think is incredibly important. Not only does it, help take time and build a relationship, but also empowers them about the value and the importance of reading, which I can go on and on about the statistics of what happens when our children don't read, especially from low-income communities. And to have a book that features a contemporary character, that looks like a lot of them and sounds like a lot of them, I think is incredibly important. So, I don't know, I feel like that's where, I just, like, in closing, just want to say how grateful I am for this community, how grateful I am for this program. I wish I had an Adopt a Class when I grow up. When I grow up, I'm going for what you said, Kate, that you want to be new.
We know you've still not grown up. It's fine.
Oh my gosh, no, not remotely. But again, I just want to say in closing how grateful I am for this program, and also grateful I am for this opportunity to be able to come and speak. And thank you.
Sure. Anybody have any questions for Ty? Anything at all? He doesn't mind the personal ones.
I do have a question. This is Jarvis from the Cincinnati Recreation Commission. Can you put the name of your books in the chat? I caught one of the names, but not the other one.
Sure, I would be happy. In fact, I'll just give my website, and then that way you can check them all out. I'm also on Instagram. I'm on every social media outlet that you can possibly imagine. And I do want to say also as an author that it's really essential that kids read as often as they can, but it's not just the message, it's also the messenger. I think in a world where pop culture is so prominent and kids can name their favorite athlete, they can name their favorite pop star, but they can't name their favorite author, is because they don't have that engagement. And so I think it's really important for me personally as a role model to be as visible positively as I can, so that kids can say, in addition to want to be a basketball player like LeBron James or a hip hop or a pop star like Beyonce, that they would also want to be an author like Ty Allen Jackson. And it's not all about me. I think it really is about the instillment of what it is that they can be, especially when they see a guy like, wait a minute, he was on welfare, I'm on welfare. Wait, he was raised by a teenage mom, I was raised by a teenage mom. What, he's never been to college? Like, I've always had this mindset that you had to go to college to be successful. And not that we want to deter our kids from going to college, but I think we want to know that they have so much opportunity. And kids will not necessarily see that opportunity until they have role modelship to go, wow, if he can do it, then I can do it too. Which also talks about the connection they have with you. And when they hear your story and when they hear where you come from and why it is that you're giving this service, because it in turn will inspire them to want to give service. So thank you.
Hi, thanks so much for an amazing testament and also just sharing so much about what's to come. Kate, do you want to give a preview to this group about what they will have access to from Ty during the next few months of their programming?
Yes, yeah. So all of our 3rd through 5th grade teachers will be receiving a copy of Ty's book, Danny Dollar Millionaire. Ty has also agreed to do a series of videos for us that he is hopefully just about finished filming, so that we can take a look at those. One of the most exciting things about this, right, is obviously what Ty is hitting on is financial literacy, which is phenomenal. And our amazing adopters at US Bank of Ty. So, so that is so tremendous and super duper exciting. And yeah, so he is.
Can I add to that, Kate? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead.
So I can't believe that I completely left that segment out of the work that I'm doing regarding Danny Dollar, because I'm such a narcissist. All I like to do is talk about myself. Is that is doing this video kind of workshop for the students revolving around this Danny Dollar program, so that they have the opportunity not just to read the book, but also have the author talk to them about the synopsis of the book, why it's important to learn about finance, debt, interest, to kind of plant seeds inside of them so that they're empowered and have at least the education to move forward and understand the realm of financial literacy, the way that my son said, hey, Dad, what am I going to do with all this money? We want to be able to have children empowered to be able to have the mindset of, yes, I know that money is made to spend, but it's also made to save, but it's also made to invest, but it's also made to donate. And until we instill those values inside of our children, it's going to be really, really difficult for them to move forward and saying there's nothing else to do with money than spending it. It only comes out of an ATM. So to be able to break down the origins of how do I earn money, to how do I make my money grow? How can I use my money as a tool to make my life and the life of my family better? So I'm really honored. I finished up all my videos right now. My production team is working on making them nice and cool and funky. So I'm really excited to get that out to you, which I will do early next week. And I apologize for not bringing that part up. That's kind of why I'm here. But I haven't had my own Starbucks yet. So I'm realizing that that's the issue.
So Ty brings up a good point too. At Adopt a Class, we are looking to be a little bit more intentional when it comes to things like financial literacy, right? We do a lot, our asks of you all going into the classroom, right, is a lot of talk on those essential employability skills. It's a lot of talk on those life skills. We forget that financial literacy is part of those life skills, right? This is really, really good stuff for these kids to know how to do. We serve pre-K through 8th grade. It's fantastic to be able to start having those conversations. It sounds silly, right, to be talking to a bunch of preschoolers about the importance of financial literacy, but we want to normalize these conversations. If they are hearing it consistently from the time they're 4 and 5 years old on up, all the better, right? And so we are so grateful to you, Ty, for being able to come in and offer this to us. Ty has done a series of videos. He's also going to be doing a live event that we'll be hosting on October 30th, which is also very, very exciting. A couple of people are asking, Ty, whether or not you feel your book would be too advanced for 1st or 2nd grade. What do you think?
I would generally say yes, but I'm also in the camp that we need to talk up to our kids. Like you'll never hear me say, don't read this to your 3, 4, 5-year-old. We always need to talk up. So while the book is written for 3rd through 5th graders, I absolutely think you can read this book to your 1st and 2nd grader and give them they can comprehend what money is. They understand the principles of money. They just, they just need a little bit more of the details. So yes, 100%. I definitely believe. Not to mention, Danny Dollar is just cool. So, he's going to be able to, the kids will resonate with him because he's them. He's the embodiment of who they are. So, yes, you can 100% read this to your 1st and 2nd graders.
I would agree with that. I read Ty's book. I read it in about 30 minutes, a quick easy read, and I would agree. Definitely read up to the kiddos. Any other questions for Ty? We are actually going to move into some breakout rooms. Any other questions before we do that? You must have been that good, right? That you guys don't have any questions. Good.
Kate, there was There was one in the chat. What you said a bunch of the grades will be getting the book. What, can you just say which ones, which classes, schools, grades?
All of our 3rd through 5th grade teachers will be receiving the book.
Excellent.
They're kind of our target audience for today as well. So what we are going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to switch into our breakout rooms. We will have a couple of key questions. I'm going to give them to you now so you can sort of start thinking about them prior to us moving into the breakout rooms. What tools do our children need to give them more independence and boost their self-esteem and self-reliance? Ty hit on that a bit. And then what obstacles can you see that our kids have to overcome to become successful? And how can we help with that as well?
The magic happens again. We're all back together. For those who have had their first Zoom breakout experience, this is always fun. Yesterday, we saw people say, that was so cool that it just happens. So I hope if any of you, this is your first experience, it was a good one. So we are going to move on now and actually give you an opportunity to see a lesson that you could do in your classroom. And Zanique's going to demonstrate a lesson for us so that we can all start to visualize this is what it would actually look like when I do this with students. So Zanique, take it away.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Zanique Alston-Betts, and I'm the Program Manager of School Relationships. I'm going to go over a lesson with you that's going to be fun and engaging for any 3rd through 5th grade classroom. We will twist our tongues in this activity, and this activity will help students with their pronunciation and reading improvement. Tongue twisters are great articulation and brain exercises. I remember enjoying tongue twisters and laughing a lot as a kid, and I'm sure that you will also. So this activity should take you about 15 minutes, although it could take a little longer. It's a little shortened today just for the purposes of time. I will go through this activity to provide you with some insight on how the lesson will look, okay? Go ahead and share the screen, please. All right, so I'm going to call on some individuals to kind of help me with this. When doing this lesson, you should say the tongue twister at least 3 times. You want to start very slow, and then you want to build up your speed. Okay, let's begin. All right, hold on one second. 2 tricky turkeys take 20 tables terribly to the trash. 2 tricky turkeys take 20 tables terribly to the trash. 2 tricky turkeys take 20 tables terribly to the trash. What sounds do you hear, or what sound do you hear most often? Anyone? You can type it in the chat. Okay, it's actually the letter T. Yes, thank you, Allie. Next one, next slide, please. All right. Catherine keeps the keys to the kangaroo kingdom. Catherine keeps the keys to the kangaroo kingdom. Catherine keeps the keys to the kangaroo kingdom. What sound is most often used in that sentence? You can go ahead and type it in the chat. Thank you, Adam and Olivia. Great job. Next slide. Can I have some participants to join me on this one? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Fine feathers fall freely from
fluttering festoons on Fridays.
Oh, that was amazing. That sounded amazing, guys.
Oh, funny. Does anyone else want to pick up where I left off and speed it up for me? Let's see. Any show of hands? Anyone?
I'll go for it.
Okay, go for it.
Fine feathers fall freely from fluttering festoons on Fridays.
Ooh, that was beautiful.
That was good. Yes, again, please.
Want me to try it again?
Yeah.
All right. Fine feathers fall freely from fluttering festoons on Fridays.
Great job. What sound do you hear most often in that?
A lot of F.
A lot of F's. Okay, great. Next slide, please. So it's a good idea to call on students individually for this activity. We have come up with 25 tongue twisters. At the end of the lesson, it's a good idea to ask your students to come up with their own tongue twister, and then provide them some time to put it in the chat. You will find that they will laugh and they will enjoy this activity. You might not have to do all 24, but you just pick out a few that you enjoy. And this activity will also be provided on our website as well as part of our curriculum. Okay, are there any questions?
When you talk about calling on individual students, if you're assuming that they only have, like one screen in the classroom, are you kind of are you going to rely on the teacher to sort of pick and choose if you can't totally see everybody, or is there a better way to do that?
That's a great question. So I think it's very important in advance that you share the lesson with the teacher a few days before, so she has an idea on the activity that you're doing. And you can kind of make that suggestion to her. Can you have individual names or sticks with numbers for your students so that you can call on different numbers? Most teachers give their students numbers, assign their students numbers in the classroom, so you can have some numbers in mind. So those are things you can talk about, and those are great ideas to kind of just plan and prepare in advance for the lesson. I'm so glad you asked that question because that's a really great question.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
I have a quick question. Are we would have that, so we would be sharing our screen?
Yes.
Or the teacher, so we are the ones sharing the screen and doing that, okay?
Yes, you can share the screen, share your screen. And I also suggest making sure that you download it and making sure that the file works, in advance before you do the lesson. Okay, so it looks like we're going to maybe not skip our breakouts this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, you guys actually asked a lot of the questions that we sort of anticipated being addressed in the breakout rooms with respect to this particular lesson. So in the interest of time and getting to our next very exciting speaker, thank you, Zanik, for that. That is fun. That was definitely amazing to hear everybody do that. And Olivia, my goodness, if you could find a way to make that a career, man. Pretty awesome. All right, we are going to move on to our keynote speaker. I am super thrilled to be able to introduce Rafael Farrar. Rafael started his career with Johnson & Johnson in 2004 as a senior recruiting specialist for J&J Talent Acquisition. He's been the recipient of numerous awards, including a Johnson & Johnson National African American Leadership Council Leadership Award. Olivia should have read this. In recognition of his support of diversity activities at J&J, Rafael was the guest speaker during our Ethicon team's on-site field trip when they hosted 2 fourth grade classes from Lincoln Heights Elementary in Princeton School District. He did a phenomenal job getting the students pumped up for what they were about to experience as they toured the facility. So, welcome, Rafael. We are super excited.
Well, first of all, thank you. It's hard to go after Ty though. I was like, he should be the keynote speaker. I should just hang up at this point. But no, again, just like Ty said, super excited to have the opportunity to allow me to talk to the team today. As Kate said, my name is Rafael Farrar. I'm a business unit HR leader for the supply chain in our Midwest Northeast cluster. I've been with J&J for about 16 years, supporting various HR and talent acquisition roles, D&I, a lot of those things I'm heavily focused in. I had the opportunity, as she said, to engage the students at Adopt a Class for the last couple of years. And last year in particular, I was able to do the welcome address for the students and had a great time doing it. I've had history of working with children, so getting them excited early in the morning, it's very, very easy to do, but they were so engaged and it made it a really great opportunity. And as soon as I wrapped up, Kate was there. She was like, "Hey, I got a question. Tell me a little bit more about yourself. And man, is there any way I can borrow you next year?" And next year rolled around, and she was Johnny on the spot, sent me an email and said, "Hey, the time is now. Are you able to still do it for us?" So again, I'm super excited to have the opportunity to tell you a little bit about my story and how this program resonates with me. Very similar to what Ty said. It has a very strong admiration for me. So I was about 6 years old when my eldest sister was tragically killed by a drunk driver. She actually saved my life, sacrificing her own. I can still remember that day as vivid as I'm looking at your faces on the screen, but it's like a snap of that's all I can remember. Fast forward to the hospital and things like that. I don't remember any of those elements, but that's the piece that that I certainly remember as a 6-year-old child. This happened directly across the street from our house. We were able to cross the main street, and it was a VFW lodge directly across the street from our home. And as we were crossing the main street and on that pathway, we were struck by that driver. My mom couldn't bear living there any longer and looking out the window and reliving that tragic experience. So we upped and moved to Wind Terrace. And for those that live in the city, know that Cincinnati is one of Cincinnati's toughest neighborhoods. In my mind, we lived a normal life in the late 70s and 80s. We, ride bikes and played Atari, played football and baseball and all the different sports that you would do back then. But to be honest, we didn't even know we were poor, but we certainly were. My parents worked extremely hard to make sure that we had food on the table. Maybe not what we wanted, but certainly something to eat. We were on food stamps and public assistance and lived in subsidized housing. And there's times that we didn't have electric. We had to run an extension cord over to our neighbors' apartments just to have lights, to have just the necessities during the evening periods. And then at times we would also use candles to do our homework and things of that nature. Again, from all accounts, you would not never know that any of this was going on, because as as children and as African American parents, we're very prideful, right? So we're not going to show up the way we're showing up at home in many cases. But it was programs like this that made the difference for me. It provided me the opportunity to see the possibilities. I was able to participate in like junior achievement and other adult volunteer programs that also allowed me to learn about different careers and see a number of positive influences through these interactions. I was able to attend Wani Hills High School, where I continue to fuel my education and my ultimate ticket out of the hood. I remember telling people that I did not live in Wind Terrace, and I pretended to live in College Hill, another area here in Cincinnati, as not to be ridiculed for living in the projects. The area of Wind Terrace that I lived in has long been demolished, and there's nothing there but memories. I committed myself that my children would never have to experience the things that I've experienced growing up. But I taught them that, working hard and nothing is given to a person. For several years, I've continued working with children, from coaching AAU basketball, mentoring kids through the YMCA Black and Latino Achievers Program. I've done a number of times junior achievement for Wani Hills, and then also our youth church ministry, just to name a few things that I've had opportunity to do. Your participation this year may be the spark that impacts a child's life. I say all the time, if I had to do it again, I'd be a pediatrician, because I met my first pediatrician 21 years ago when we had our first son, and I never had seen a Black doctor. I'd never been exposed. So your influence matter. your time matters. So what I employ to you today, like, take full advantage of the opportunity that you have with these young individuals. You may be that spark. You may be that individual that sparked a curiosity, like, wow, that person works at X company. And they may associate you with that company every time they see one of your trucks go past, your company's advertised on TV, like, oh, Miss such and such works there, mommy. So I would say take full advantage, be authentic. These kids really recognize when you're not. I know that I found that over the years of just being very authentic, being true, and then give your time if you're giving your time. And it's hard sometimes in the space of work, especially working from home. You have your cell phone or something going off. Please try to dedicate that time to the children, so that way they know that you're fully engaged, you're all in, and you want to just see them do just great things in their lives. So again, following after Ty was really, really tough. I don't have any books or anything like that. I do read books, and I will be picking up his books for my sons. I have 3 boys, and we had a great opportunity to raise 3 absolute great sons. Our oldest son is at the Naval Academy. He plays football for them. Our middle boy is at Cincinnati State in the culinary program, and our youngest son is a junior at St. X High School now. So I'm just super proud of the opportunities and how I've exposed them to some of the things that I do from a volunteer perspective. And my oldest son, have proven me right, where he's given this ultimate sacrifice to everyone on the screen right now going to the Navy. So he's really committed to the things that I've instilled in him, and just kind of showed him how to walk the walk. So again, I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to everyone today. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you so much.
Raphael, thank you so much. We really appreciate you joining us today. And we often encourage people to give thanks in the chat. If you have just one word that resonates with you after hearing Raphael speak, feel free to also just include that one word. Tiffany, thanks. I see powerful. It certainly is powerful. And we appreciate your message. We appreciate you sharing from a personal perspective the impact of mentoring and the impact all of us can make. Well, it is time to wrap up our time together. I can't believe we're already at this point. The morning really has gone by very quickly, and we've given you a lot of information to think about. But I just want to say, on behalf of the Adopt a Class staff, we are so grateful to have you all here today. We hope that this first symposium session provided you with insights into how the year is going to look. We appreciate how flexible, patient, and engaged you have been as we plan and prepare and make this an incredible school year with AAC. We want to send you off with a few announcements and next steps so that you and your team are ready to go for the first mentoring session in October. First thing to note is that the Adopt a Class Safety and Security Agreement must be completed and returned to us prior to your first mentoring session. These will arrive in the team lead emails in the coming days. Please make sure to read the safety agreement and carefully fill out all of the relevant contact information so that we can keep you and your team up to date with all of our communications throughout the year, including our monthly Adopter newsletter. Adopt a Class will be extremely high touch this year with our communications, so make sure you have everything you need to make it a successful school year, and don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions, need additional information, or honestly, if you just want to brainstorm your lessons. We're happy to help. With that being said, it is time to reach out to your teachers. If you haven't already, begin planning your mentoring sessions for your year, including talking to your teachers. Unless we've reached out, you are matched with the same teacher you had last year, so reach out to them, schedule your first session of the year, and discuss your activity ideas, dropping off materials, snacks, or donations if you choose. Once you have your visit, each month, don't forget to log them in the Mentor Tracker. The Mentor Tracker is very important to us, and it's available at our website at aacmentors.org. The information you provide in that Mentor Tracker after each of your visits allows us to gain data to continue to grow and succeed. The mentor tracker is instrumental in understanding our impact and providing you with the details about your team, your classroom, and the contributions they make each year. At the end of this week, Adopt a Class will follow up with a replay of today's recorded session. Please share the recording with any of your fellow team members who were unable to attend the training. We will also be following up soon with our first Adopter newsletter of the year. Each month, we will send out our Adopter newsletter with information regarding AAC news, icebreaker ideas, lesson ideas, discussion prompts, events, training opportunities, and many more resources to help you plan. So be on the lookout for your first newsletter coming soon, and stay tuned for exciting information later this fall on our virtual pen paling opportunities. Thank you for your time this morning, and have a great start to the year.